In this new video series, we are going to explore the real power of procedural and parametric modeling inside Blender geometry nodes. When we model a rope bridge, instead of modeling every plank, rope, support and structural elements manually, we are going to build a complete rope bridge as a flexible system, a bridge that can change its length, width, height, hanging curvature and overall structure through multiple modifier controls. This is the real beauty of procedural modeling. We are not just creating one fixed model. We are creating a smart model that can rebuild itself whenever we change a parameter. In the first part, we will begin with the most important foundation of the entire bridge, the main rope curve. The curve will act as the backbone of our hanging bridge. For this single curve, we will control the bridge span, the sagging curvature of the rope, the distance between the two sides, and even the vertical height of the bridge structure. We will start by setting up the Blender new version 5.2, enabling useful node tools, preparing the render environment, and creating our first geometry node setup. Then step by step, we will build a Bezier based rope system and expose important controls like bridge length, bridge curvature, bridge width and bridge height directly in the modifier panel. By the end of this session, we will have the complete base rope structure of our bridge ready, clean, organized and fully parametric. This first stage may look simple, but it is the foundation on which the entire rope bridge will be built. In the upcoming parts, we will add thickness to the ropes, build the wooden walking deck, create supports, railings, hanging element, and gradually transform the basic procedural curve system into a complete stylized rope bridge. So let us begin by creating not just a bridge model, but a reusable procedural bridge generator inside geometry nodes. Now to begin with, I will come into the browser and come into the site blender.org. I will come into download and you have here daily builds. I will come into daily builds. I can find Blender 5.2.0 beta, and for into x64 I am going to download into 64 version. Once it is downloaded, I will come into the downloads folder. Because it's a beta version, you will not have the installer and it will be a portable version and it has a very long name. I will press F2 and I will name it like Blender 5.2. Then I will right click and choose extract all and I will extract all the files. Once it is extracted, I will come into this folder. I will again press F2 and I will rename this as Blender 5_2 and I will select this folder, cut it in my Explorer in any of drive in which I have space. For example, I will come into D drive, right click and paste it. I will open this folder and I have the blender.exe executable. I will right click, so I will come into show more options, create shortcut. Drag this shortcut and put it on my desktop. I will rename this as Blender 5.2. I will double click on this shortcut Blender 5.2 to launch Blender 5.2. Now once it is launched, this is the splash screen. Click somewhere in this empty space to hide this splash screen. I will press A on the keyboard. I will press X and delete everything. Now before I start, I will come into edit preferences. I will come into add-ons and I will search for an add-on called Node Wrangler. Enable Node Wrangler add-on. This is very useful when we work with nodes. I will come into system and in the cycle render devices, I will use either CUDA or optics. Right now I will use optics and I will select my graphic card. I will close my preferences. Then in the properties, I will come into my render tab and I will change my render engine from EV to cycles. Then in device, I am going to use GPU compute. And in maximum sample in viewport, I will set it to 32 and disable noise threshold. And in render, I will again disable noise threshold and I will set the sampling to 128. Instead of denoising it here, I am going to carry out this denoising in my compositing node. I will first come into my view layer and I am going to enable denoising data. I will come into compositing. In this node panel, I will click on new. This will create a new compositor node and you have one render layers and group output and viewer. I will press Shift A and in Add Search, I will search Denoise node and I will connect it between render layer and group output. I will take denoising albedo and connect it to albedo. And I will take this denoising normal and I will connect it to normal. I will come back to my layout, come into render panel again, scroll down and in film and I will enable transparent. I will come back to my layout, right click and choose duplicate and I am going to rename this as my geo layout. And in this layout, I will bring the mouse down between 3D view panel and the bottom timeline. When you see this double arrow, I will drag it and make it bigger. And instead of this timeline, I am going to change this into geometry node editor. I will come into file and choose save as, come into my St. Joseph folder or any folder where you want to save your content. Name this as bridge 1 and click on the save button. I want to give it a good HDR lighting. I will come into the shading panel and here instead of object, I am going to select world. You actually have one background and one world output. I will press Shift A and in the node I am going to search for environment texture. Now going to use a 360-degree HDR image. I can get this image online from a site called Polyheaven. If I come into browser and type Polyheaven, if you come into this polyheaven.com website, in assets, you can come into HDRI, you can come into outdoors. I will use this farm road. Click on this. I will select the option as EXR. Download this EXR file. And once it is downloaded, come to your downloads folder, right click and cut the file. Come into your place where you have stored your bridge contents, right click and paste it. If you come into YouTube video page or the e-learning page and if you scroll down and if you come into the description, you are provided with a Patreon page link. Click on this link. It will bring you to the geometry nodes in Blender Patreon page. Scroll down and here I have provided you with a file called as bridgeassets.zip. Click on this to download it. Select this bridge assets, right click and cut this file. Come into your bridge folder, right click and paste it. Then right click, choose extract all and click extract. I have provided you with some wood material textures and a sunrise EXR file. I will come back to Blender and in environment texture, I will click on open. Select either this farm road 4K.exr or in bridge asset sunrise EXR. I will select this farm road 4K.exr and click on open image. I will take the output of this environment texture and connect it to the background and I will leave this strength at 1. Now with all these settings done, I will come back to my geo layout, come to file and save it. To start working on geometry node, there should be some geometry present in my scene to enable my geometry node. It can be anything. I will come here into my 3D view, add. I will come into empty and I will add a plane axis. I will come into outliner and I will press F2 and in capital letters I will call this bridge. Once I have added an object, I can come here and click on new. And when I click on new, a new geometry node is created and I am going to call this geometry node as bridge 1. I am going to zoom in and you can see that I have group output and group input and they are not connected because this is an empty. So I will leave my group input as it is to the side and for this group output, I am going to start creating the very first structure of my bridge, the rope that holds the bridge. This is not a straight bridge, this is a hanging bridge. I should be able to bend it. I have to now use a Bezier. I will come into add, I will come into curve. In primitive, I am going to add a Bezier segment. So this is main row. If I take this Bezier segment output and if I connect it to group output, you can see a Bezier line which has a start point, end point. The start point is -1 meter and end point is 1 meter. So if I move it along the Y, it moves forward or backward. I will set it back to 0, but my bridge, it will be hanging only vertically. I have to change only my Z value. I have to have a control so that the user can determine what should be the length of the bridge and also the way it is hung. So how much angle it is going to bend. By changing the start angle and the end angle, I can change how much my bridge will be hanging. I need these parameters to be controlled by the end user. So for that reason, I am going to press Shift A, and in search, I will look for the node combine XYZ. It is going to separate this XYZ value. So if I take the first combine XYZ, and I am going to set the starting point of my curve, which is right now set to 0. I will select this combine XYZ, press Shift D and duplicate it. I will move it down. I will also connect it to the end. So I have one combine XYZ node for start point, one combine XYZ for the end point. Then I will again select this combine XYZ, press Shift D and duplicate it, and I will connect this to the start handle. Select this combine XYZ, press Shift D and duplicate it, and I will create another one for this end handle. If I press Control spacebar, this is become full screen. For this Bezier segment, I have separated all its XYZ values. Now the very first thing is the length. The length of my bridge is determined by this X value. If I press Control spacebar and make it small, whatever node I have connected to the, if I just drag it, see the length of my bridge is changing. If I want to control the length, I can take this combine XYZ output and connect it to the group input. You have one X indicator. First, I want to name this as bridge length. So selecting group input, I will press N or open the side panel, and here in group sockets, I will press F2 and I will name this now as bridge length. This bridge length will now be available to the end user in the modifier. If you come into the modifier panel, in geometry node you have bridge 1, and if the user changes it, see the bridge length is changing. The problem I have is when this length is determined, the length is changing only on one side. See, if I make it 3 meters, from center it is moving either to the right when I make it 3 meter positive. If I make it -3, it goes to the negative. However, I want this to divide equally based on this value. I have to now control both the start and the end X value. I will disconnect this bridge length which I had connected to the end combine XYZ X. I will press Shift A, and in search, I am going to add a math node. And in this math node, I will change this to multiply, and whatever bridge length I am giving, I will give it as value 1. I will set its multiply its value by -0.5, and I will connect it to this X. I am going to press Shift D and duplicate it. Now I will bring it down, and I will take the same bridge length and I will give it as the first value, and in the second value I will make it positive 0.5, and I will connect it to the end combine XYZ. Now when I change the bridge, as I change it, it is going to change on both sides. So now if I want to make a 10-meter bridge, if I type 10, I have a 10-meter bridge. This is the first parametric control we are giving it to the user. To determine this, I am using this entire segment. I will select all these points together, press Ctrl G. Now this entire thing changed into a node group. I will come here and change the node group. I will call this as rope curve and press enter. So now if I press tab, I will come back to bridge 1 and I just have rope curve. When I am changing only the X value, the rope is moving forward or backward, but I am not getting that hanging curvature. I will select this rope curve, press tab and open it, and I will move this both the multiply down. I want this hanging to happen only along the Z axis like this. I will set the Z value to 0, and I will take the output from this Z and connect it to my group input. I will come into right side rope curve group panel, select Z and press F2, call this output as bridge curvature start. I will drag another Z value that is coming from the end handle. I will put it to group input, and again in group panel, I will press F2 and I am going to call this as bridge underscore curvature end. I will press tab and come into bridge. I have these two values and I want these two values to be given to the end user in the modifier. I will drag the first one to my group input and it is automatically named as bridge curvature start. And the next one also I will connect it to the group input. You have bridge curvature end. In my geometry node, I can adjust the bridge length and I can control the curvature using these two bridge curvature values. How much it is hanging, I can control it through this bridge curvature. Set it to minus 0.5 one side, minus 1.2 on the other. To precisely maintain this hanging curvature, I have kept the bridge length to 10 meters. I will set the bridge curvature to minus 3 in the starting curvature, and in the ending curvature also I will set it to minus 3. If I middle mouse click and turn around, you have a hanging bridge. This rope curve right now has one starting and end point, but I want more segments in this rope curve. I will select my rope curve group, press tab to open it, and I will come here after this Bezier curve segment. Before this group output, press Shift A and in search resample curve. I am going to add this resample curve between Bezier segment and group output, and I will set the count to 40 so that I have more divisions and the curve appears more smooth. Then I will press tab to come back to my bridge 1 geometry node. I have only one curve at the center, but in case of a bridge, I should have two curves, and the distance between these two curves determines the width of my bridge. I have one row, and whatever output is coming from this rope curve, I will press Shift A and in search, I will call for a transform geometry node and attach it between the rope curve and the geometry. I have to move this along the y-axis. I will set this value back to 0. I will press Shift A and again I will search for my combine XYZ node, and I will connect this combine XYZ node to my transform geometry. I can now control this Y movement. This Y movement determines my width. I will take this Y output back into my group input. I select it. I come to the right side panel bridge 1. I select this Y, press F2 and I will call this as bridge underscore width. I am going to use the same logic as I used in the rope curve to move on both the sides equally. Take this bridge width and disconnect it. I will press Shift A and in search, I will search for a math node. I will add multiply and I am going to connect this bridge width to this value 1 and I will multiply it by minus 0.5 and I will set this value to the Y of my bridge. If I come and set my bridge width to be around 5 meters, this is now 2.5 meters to the other side. Or if I press 1, I am in the front view. If I press 3, I am in the side view. So you can see it is 2.5 meters to the side. Now I want another row on the other side. I select this transform geometry, combine XYZ, multiply. Press Shift D to duplicate and place it down. I am going to bring the multiply to the top. I take the bridge width and connect it as first value, and instead of minus 5, I make it 0.5 and I take this value coming from this transform. Whatever rope curve output I am getting, going to connect it for the second geometry also. And now I have to combine both these ropes. So I will move the group output to the side, press Shift A and in search, I will search for join geometry. In join geometry, I will take the join geometry output to my group output. I will take both these transform outputs and connect it to join geometry. And now you can see you have two rows which are placed at 4 meters apart. Now after setting the width, the next part I have to set is the height. From this joint geometry, I am getting both these ropes. I will press Shift A and in search, I will search for one more transform geometry. I will connect this transform geometry between joint geometry and group output. I want to move it along the Z axis. I will select this combine XYZ, press Shift D to duplicate and I will bring it here and I will connect it to the translate of this transform geometry, and the Z output that I am getting from this combined XYZ will go to my group input. I will come to this side panel here and in the Z, I will press F2 and I will rename this as bridge height because Z represents the bridge height. I will move it a little. I will select this joint geometry, press Shift D to duplicate. One output is coming through this transform geometry. Another, I will connect it directly. And if I set the bridge height to 4 meters, you have the 4 ropes that are needed for our bridge ready. I want to slightly organize. I have group input. I have the rope curve. I am multiplying it twice here. So I will take this entire group, these two multiplications, then combine XYZ and this two transform geometry along with this joint geometry. So this is going to give me the width. I will press Ctrl G and group it and I will call this as width. Then I will press tab and come back. So this is going to control the width. To control the height, I have this 3 combine XYZ, transform geometry and joint geometry. I select these 3, press Ctrl G and I am now going to call this as height. Press tab. I have it clearly arranged. I have the rope curve. Width is controlled here. Height is controlled here. And then I have the group output. Whenever you are moving it, if these lines are overlapping, press Shift and right mouse click and you get a point here. Press G and move it so that I can just arrange it. And similarly, even for this bridge width, I will press Shift, right mouse click and drag. I get a point here. Press G and move it down. Now, in this height, there is an issue. I select the height, press tab and open it. And if you can see here, in combine XYZ, both X and Y should be 0. Y has been set to 0.7. I will make it back 0. Press tab again. We have successfully created our structure for our bridge. I will go to File and save it. With this, I will conclude this session. In our next session, we are going to add thickness to this rope.